Hello, what up? What up? Boom, 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 boom. Whoops. That's not the right output. Can you hear that? Wait, hold on. Here we go again. Here we go one more time. Everybody's feeling fine. Here we go now. The audio's fine now. Okay, let's try it again. We made it. We made it to another day. We're back in Arizona, where I call homie. Just kidding. We're back in Arizona today to talk about another guru. Another day, another guru. Spoiler alert, this guru has passed away. So I've been meaning to talk about this guy forever. And this seems like an appropriate time to revisit the life, the rise, the fall, the everything in between of the one and only James Arthur Ray, also known as JAR in my notes, because obviously James Arthur Ray is a little bit of a mouthful from time to time. So if you have no idea who the heck this person is, he's a guru a la 2005-ish was like where his rise sort of began. And then he was featured in the world famous, globally famous production called The Secret, which unfortunately was something that I often recommended to people in my life when I was going through my new age self-help journey of discovery myself. And he was a philosopher, according to whoever edited The Secret. And that really started to get him some notoriety, some success. And then basically everything boils down to it's Oprah's fault when it comes to any of these crimes and these grifters getting platformed. But at the time, Oprah had a full-on show about The Secret, and one of the people she chose from The Secret to be on there was James Arthur Ray. Another guy was the guy from Chicken Soup for the Soul, who I've met in person before. What's his name? He's got like a 3-person name too. What's his name? It's like John something. Soup for the Soul. Jack Canfield. Okay. And I always think Campbell Soup, Jack Campbell, but it's Jack Canfield. Can of soup, Jack Canfield. Okay, well, I'll never forget that name now. He was also there because he was also in The Secret. Anywho, so then he goes on Oprah, and then I guess Oprah likes him, so then he comes back a second time for a second Oprah show. And if you were around during that period of time when Oprah was on TV, you would have probably seen how popular that got him. You know, people really worshipped Oprah and everything she thought, everything she bought, everything she read. People were obsessed with her. So when he got to be on there, he got a lot of credibility, and he started to host more and more conferences and retreats and blah, blah, blah. And basically that's where we're going to start. But that is his trajectory. So let me show you a picture. So we're starting at the end, which is he's recently passed away. That's why we're talking about him today. But we're going to start back in like 2005 and kind of just do a run through of everything we need to know. And just to spoil the ending a little bit more, he's most well known for being held responsible criminally for 3 people passing away during a retreat that he was holding, and had a sweat lodge ceremony, which he decided to, I guess there is a technical specific way you can do a sweat lodge, like actually legally, I believe, because it's like a Native American spiritual practice. And they actually have like, I don't know if it's laws, but they have rules about how this ceremony can be held legally, and he did not follow those rules, apparently. One of the many things that had gone wrong with this whole retreat. And it was called Spiritual Warrior, was the retreat that he was holding. And it cost 10 grand to go. And the last day, the big, final moment of the retreat, you got to go into this homemade sweat lodge made with sticks and tarp. And there was like rocks lit on fire, and there's like 60 people in this small enclosed space, and 3 people ended up ultimately dying. So years later, he's found responsible. He went to prison. He went to an Arizona state prison for 2 years, got out, and guess what? Went back on the grift. So that was, I think, 2013 when he got out. And then since then, he's been trying to rebuild his career. He's been going to like MLM conferences, I guess, pretty low level stuff. And then he's selling his own courses. But again, he just recently passed away, and it doesn't say exactly what from. It says unexpectedly. I haven't heard any details about why, how, nothing, which sometimes means something, sometimes could mean an overdose, sometimes could mean, taking one's own life. It could mean nothing. It could just be something, medical, who knows, but they haven't revealed the secret of why he died. The secret is he passed away from something. Read the book to find out what. I'm just kidding. And it's kind of creepy because, and let me just show you his face, because if you just hear me talking about him, you're like, who? Maybe you recognize him. He didn't used to have silver hair. He used to have, as many men of his age, and he was 67, I believe. So, that's like my parents' age, essentially. And to me, that doesn't seem old. Especially again, he seemed to be healthy, working, quote unquote working, grifting pretty healthily. And then, oh God, I'm triggered. He definitely, and this is something we'll get to, he had a red, I call it a half dose of a red pill. It seemed like that's the direction he was heading as of late, like definitely down the road of, the red pill. I'm a new age believer, therefore I believe in this political view, which tends to happen a lot lately, I've noticed. So here's his Instagram. Again, very, very low, extremely low engagement, like 5, 11, 12 likes. And also he shares this page with his new wife. After he got out of prison, he got a wife. So combined, between the two of them creating content nonstop, they get 10 likes, 0 comments. And also, what was I going to say? Oh, creepy factor is that I guess I'm assuming they have like a Hootsuite or something where content is scheduled to go out. So he died, and like on, I don't know, let's say he died on a Tuesday. Scheduled content was coming out like Friday, him talking about how to live a great life. It's like, oh God, the irony of that is not lost on me. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, and I guess there's stories. I'm assuming this is from his wife. Okay, yeah, there's like been tributes and things. We're going to look at the website. We're going to talk about the incident, the accident. And I truly do believe this is a hotly debated topic as to whether it was an accident or intentional. I don't think anyone really thinks it was intentional, like murder. I don't think that makes sense because that would be losing your clientele. And he definitely wanted to be making money from everyone he was interacting with, in my opinion. So it didn't serve him. I think it was an accident, but negligent, 100%. Like, causing the death of people because of your influence and because of the relationship you built with these clients of yours. Yes, I think that you do bear a lot of responsibility when 3 people end up dying. And we'll get to this as well, how he handled it afterwards. There's a few things that if you were to give him grace, and say, it was a mistake, he didn't mean it, blah, blah, blah. How he handled the situation afterwards, I think you would take that back and go, well, regardless of what happened, the way you handled this was so horrible and not the spiritual warrior way that you claim to be, a guru, a leader, a helping hand, to just abandon your entire company and all the people that paid you $10,000 per person to attend that conference is cowardly. at the very least. Okay, so we have a lot to go through. He's got, well, again, this is now him and his wife at the time, 25,000 followers. So at the peak, he was known as the guy that was like right below Tony Robbins, like a Tony Robbins, level eventually. Like he was going to get to that Tony Robbins level or the Deepak Chopra level. That's kind of what the media was, saying from time to time. So from that point to now is a steep decline. So he had a business called Harmonic Wealth Global. Okay. And let's go over there. Let's see. I'm going to jump around a little bit. He's got, okay. I have so many things to show you. Okay. So here's his page. So he's a motivational speaker. He believes in quantum physics. Okay, sure. I'm sure he knows lots about quantum physics in reality. And he uses quantum physics, mysticism, self-help, and business training to, fix all of your problems. And if you pay him money, he will help you. And also, just an interesting, I'm always looking for the connection between Any Grifter and Rachel Hollis and the Rachel Hollis verse. His father, James Arthur Ray's father, was also a preacher. So not a Pentecostal. That was Rachel's. He was a fire and brimstone. It was one of the other ones. Not Pentecostal. What's the other one? Protestant, maybe? Protestant, perhaps, preacher, minister. And so he learned from his father how to garner an audience and get them, I'm assuming, to tithe and get them to be engaged with what you're saying. He learned that very similar to what we've heard with Rachel and how she learned from her father the same way. And thank you, before we continue on, thank you so much to Angela Arnold. Thank you. Angela Arnold picked a purple cat. Meow, meow, meow. Little Taro right now is actually even further away from me than she was last week. She is on the bed sleeping. She's like, I'm just not even going to get close to this, but hopefully she comes over at some point. But until then,
we're going to get a little weird. You ready for me?
Oh, God.
Big facts.
We're going to talk about only big facts tonight. Thank you so much, Angela. All right. And before we begin, for real, let's do a palate cleanser. Okay. Thank you. All right. So you could go hire James to speak at your event, transforming consciousness, communication, and culture. It's time to take your power back and lead the life you were meant to live. Okay, so basically put into ChatGPT, the most generic self-help you could possibly find, make a website, and there you go. That's what you got. So here is James and his wife, and his wife's name is Besheba. I don't know I think I'm not pronouncing that right, so I apologize. But when I think she's going to be in one of the interviews we listened to, and then her name will be correctly said. Okay, it says, "Dear friend, life has taken me through its most glorious heights and darkest depths. I've tasted both victory and defeat, learning invaluable lessons along the way. From those experiences, I've emerged with a guiding light, a beacon of transformation." Okay, so his whole thing, once he got out of prison, was redemption through business, redemption through life. He's going to teach you how to redeem yourself. And that was his twist. After penning my best-selling book, The Business of Redemption, I stand before you humbled and eager to share. This is more than a book. It's a testament to resilience, growth, and the beauty of second chances. Now I extend my hand to you within these virtual walls. You'll discover courses that carry the essence of my journey, tools to unlock your hidden potential, foster personal growth, and elevate your business endeavors. But this is more than an offer. It's an embrace into a community. Again, community of kindred spirits, people who have weathered life's storms, emerging stronger and wiser. Here we uplift each other, sharing insights, dreams, and the unwavering belief in redemption. Join me in this journey of rebirth. Let's forge a future painted with the hues of transformation, resilience, and shared growth. I don't think he was getting a lot of traction. That is the vibe that I'm getting from his social media, from the documentary Enlighten Us, which is on Amazon. You have to buy it now, which sucks. But I rented it last night and watched it again for the second time just to get a refresher. And it really showed, again, like the lowest level people. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I mean, I do, but I don't mean it in like a mean way. But people who are just so lost in the world that they are looking for guidance so deeply, that is who is left, I think. It's MLM people, or were left. MLM distributors desperate to, find some motivation to keep up that grift, and or people who have gone through like completely horrific traumatic events and are drawn into these I can fix your life seminars in 1 second because they're looking to share their stories, like their own testimonials, probably as a replacement to therapy. Because I've been in these places where people just get up to a mic and say the most horrific, personal, intimate details of their life. And it's just like the guru is supposed to help them. And I think maybe they feel better just by telling somebody what's going on, and not having to actually face it in a deeper way, like in a therapist's office or whatever. Like they say the craziest thing that happened to them, and then people go, yay, you said it, now you're healed. I think there's a lot of appeal of that large group training. Oh my goodness, come here. Angela Arnold, your prayer request has been answered. Come on, come up. She's like, I would like some treats, please. Come join the live stream. You have some things to say? What do you think about James Arthur Ray and Harmonic Wealth? What do you think? Are you harmonically wealthy? Okay. Well, she's here, everybody. Congrats to me and to everyone. He wrote another one, a book called God, Money, and Sex. Marry, what do they call it? Marry, kill, have sex with? I guess I would have sex with sex, marry money, and kill God. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. If those are the only options, what am I supposed to do? Uh-oh, I can't hear myself again. Taro. She's like, I'm your audio engineer. Okay, come here. Okay. Anyways, all right, so let's continue. They have tons of products. They have almost 50 products on this website. One of them being, this looks like just with his wife, holistic intensive healing and integration session with a dog and a woman. They have virtual coaching, or I guess they're going to have to take some of this down at some point, but they have a $797 a year group mentoring Harmonic Wealth community. Okay, that's through Zoom. They have ultimate performance coaching for $997. They have 21 days to a new life mentoring daily audio sessions, $497. And then books, this is his big one, Harmonic Wealth, the redemption book, science of success, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then more stuff, conquer versus quit, practical spirituality, the science of success. It all looks the same. They all have the similar vibe to every other mysticism, self-helpy group I've ever seen. Harmonic Wealth University, Harmonic Wealth course, $997 or $97 a month for the university. Turning challenge into opportunity, $297. Habits of the Wealthy, $697. Let me tell you, Habits of the Wealthy, I don't think the wealthy really often give $700 to a random person on the internet for a course that looks like stock images. But, that's just my 2 cents. Books, films, Harmonic Wealth Experience, or Parallel Universes. You can watch the movie. My favorite film, Parallel Universes. That's about it. So there you go. You have lots and lots of products you can still buy, according to this website. And then here is Sacred Teachings. Okay, you can learn about the Bible. And he also, towards the end, his dad, like I said, was a Christian preacher. So I'm sure he had, Christian, like a Christian background, obviously. But in his teachings, when he was really popular, was much more in line with The Secret, much more in line with law of attraction. If you believe, you will receive. He went to Egypt at one point and did like a retreat at the pyramids. So you could, your vibrations can be harmonized with the Sphinx, like you. The Sphinx. And so he was not super, super Christian at the time when he was popular. But it seems like towards the end that he did get a little bit more. Danielle, thank you. Danielle says, Kia, I don't think you have enough tabs open. I can never have enough tabs. Usually I have my 2 screens of tabs. Today I have a Google Doc on one and tabs on the other. That's so funny. But you know what? Do I have enough tabs open, did you say?
No.
I can never have enough tabs. And also,
It's okay to cry.
that's what Heidi Powell told me. And also, what do you have if you don't have 100 tabs open?
Nothing.
And finally, we're going to be talking about her a little bit tonight more.
You have to think instead of sitting around eating Skittles and watching Oprah reruns.
Right, Oprah. You love Oprah. She's like, who's Oprah? That's the language you can learn if you take the Hermetics experience. Probably. He also demystified and defined the Emerald Tablet, which I've been dying to find out what the secrets are of that. 21st century alchemy, Toltec teachings of modern magic, Kabbalah, mysticism, and magic demystified. So that's kind of a general, vibe check for James Arthur Ray Harmonic Wealth Group. His first company was called a Quantum Business. And just so you know, too, his background, his claim to fame was that he worked for AT&T, okay? And he learned from this guy called James Covey, Covey, C-O-V-E-Y. And so he went to AT&T as a telemarketer, okay? And then he got into the sales department. And then he ended up having a team of salespeople because I guess he was good at sales, which I can understand because watching him sell in the documentary, Enlighten Us, was pretty impressive, I will say. He's got a focus and he goes for it. He's, ABC, always be selling, or ABS, always be closing. And so he, sorry, I'm trying to fix my headphones again. And thank you to, while I do this, Squirrel on Steroids. Thank you, Squirrel on Steroids. Squirrel on Steroids says, Thursday is my favorite day of the week now. Good to see you, Kia. Oh, that's so nice. That's so nice. Oh my gosh. For that I say.
The mango frequency.
And also, what else?
I love you.
Too much. What about this? Are you from Canada?
One of the things that fascinates me about you is that you're from Canada.
Let me know. Okay, finally. What is this?
That's a very dynamic question.
You have leaky gut.
You have leaky gut. Hope your leaky gut is doing well, Squirrel on Steroids. Okay, what was I saying? So he did something. You can give him so he's also involved with the underground, Operation Underground, which I talked about a long time ago with Tony Robbins. It's a very sketchy nonprofit. Anyways, where were we? Let's hear from James a little bit. I want to hear from him. I want to hear his voice. We got a debate. So let's see, before we get into the Sweat Lodge controversy, let's hear before he was known as a dangerous grifter. He was on the, media circuit talking about his beliefs. Okay, so let's hear that. This is called Experts. Experts. Okay. What I was talking about, and we'll get to this, was AT&T. He had a team of people at AT&T, and AT&T bought this thing called like the Covey Leadership. And basically it was like marketing training materials for AT&T sales team. So he taught that to his people because that's what AT&T gave him to teach them. But then on his Instagram, and then, well, I don't know if his Instagram was back then, but some social media, and then on his website, he really made it seem like he worked for the Covey, company itself, which is, I guess, more prestigious than working for AT&T on a sales team. So he made it seem like he worked with the author of the sales training, which they said, no, he never worked for us. And then it was like, well, I technically taught the training. So there was a lot of like, oh yeah, your resume is like, bullshit. And not that I think a lot of people care, but it just shows kind of what type of person he might have been, where he was like fluffing up stuff that wasn't quite true. Anyways, so here you go. Experts debate self-help phenom, The Secret. Okay, so he's in defense of it, and there's going to be another person fighting against the good fight. Here you go. We know how the sound is.
The Secret is a huge success. James Arthur Ray, author of The Science of Success, supports the principles of The Secret. John Norcross, professor of psychology at the University of Scranton, doesn't buy it. Both join us this morning. Good morning, folks.
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning.
James Arthur.
Where would you rather be, Los Angeles or Clarks Summit, Pennsylvania? The Secret speaks for itself on this one. James Arthur Ray 1, this loser 0.
Right, let me start with you. The principles, if I get this straight, the secret of The Secret is ask, believe, receive. Is it as simple as that?
Yes.
Well, that's one of the author's interpretations. I believe that you have to think, feel, and act in accordance with what you're going after. And if you look at anybody who's not creating what they desire and deserve, one of those components is missing. They might be thinking about it, feeling really good, but if they're not taking action, it's not going to happen.
All right, let me ask John Norcross a question here real quick. This just sounds to me like the little engine that could. I think I can. Is there any harm in that?
Yes.
Sure, there is. Let me count the ways. First, if you're reading The Secret, you're being led away from other demonstrably effective treatments and self-help resources. Second, when it doesn't work, people then begin to blame themselves and become demoralized. So when your cancer doesn't remit, schizophrenia doesn't disappear, and you continue to be blind, you say, well, it must be something in me. This is just outlandish claims.
James Arthur Ray,
Yes.
what do you think about what Mr. Norcross just said?
Well, it's interesting. There's always naysayers, but here's the thing. Science is defined as something that is duplicable, repeatable, and predictable. And so if you go, I can give you countless case studies of people who have used these principles. You go to my website and you'll see them, case study after case study after case study. People who have doubled and tripled their income, turned their health around, found their dream mate. So it's a science. It absolutely is there, and it is measurable, and it is repeatable.
Mr. Ray, though, it's interesting. Isn't this really just sort of
His disbelief face. He's like, I don't even know where to start with that. Okay. I know 4 people that have interest in making their lives sound better say that their life improved after reading the book. So I'm convinced it's science.
packaged power of positive thinking. I mean, this stuff has been around for decades, and just
millennia.
with a little bit of a new age spin on it.
Hey.
Well, it's not a new idea. Truth is timeless. I mean, this idea goes all the way back to ancient Babylonia, which predates Egypt. It isn't just positive thinking, though. Positive thinking doesn't work, and I'm one of the most positive guys you'll ever meet.
Right.
And yet positive thinking doesn't work. It's like just thinking about something is not going to make it happen. As I said to you earlier, you must have your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions all firing congruently. And when those are happening together, you're going to create whatever you desire and deserve.
Interesting.
But Harry,
Okay, yeah, I don't know what he's going to say, but yeah, he's right. Like, if I'm blind and I go, it's just my thoughts are I want to see, my actions are that I'm ready to see, and my feelings are I really want to see. That's the 3 he said, right? So ask, I would like to see. Ask, receive. What was the middle one? Ask, act, receive? I don't know. He didn't answer that question. It's like, oh yeah, I doubled my income. It's like, okay, well, if it's a law, if it's a secret of, ancient Babylonia, there should be no exceptions. It should be anything can be thought away. And like he said, cancer or blindness. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
That's not what The Secret promises. The Secret promises something quite different than Mr. Ray just suggested. The Secret promises that if you think it, believe it, it will occur. And that's where it crosses the threshold. Psychological research has demonstrated for years positive thinking and optimistic outlook does improve behavioral functioning. We know that.
Right.
But where The Secret gets dangerous is when they guarantee every wish will come true, including healing blindness and cancer. And that's why I find it appalling.
Mr. Ray, hang on a second. Mr. Ray, the people who come to you or are out buying The Secret, do you think they're just normal folks who want a little uplift? Or are they folks, as Mr. Norcross suggests, who may have really significant problems that aren't going to be helped by a $39.95 CD?
Sorry. Hello. The answer is both, unfortunately. And that's where the problem lies. Because someone just going, I have everything, basically. I could, of course, make more money. I could, of course, have a better relationship with my husband. I could, of course, have more joy in my life. But if I don't get those things, life is still pretty dang good because I have, food and I'm normal and I go to the mall and I'm happy. But is it exciting? Not necessarily. But if I don't have a great enlightenment, nothing's going to occur. That's half. Or if not, people who are just bored. They want to explore something. Okay, those people usually can make it out without too many harmful scarring from the new age self-help movement. Not in this case, unfortunately, but usually, you go through it like myself, I consider in that group. Like I went through things, I saw it, I didn't like it, I got out, and now I'm fine. There's another sect of people, though, that I believe that have physical ailments. We just talked about them last week. The power of positive thinking. I'm going to shrink my tumor. I'm going to detox my cancer. I'm going to, detox my negative thoughts and therefore I'll be cured. That's where it becomes extremely dangerous. And the claims that they make, they don't specify. This is just for people who want like a little pick-me-up, make their life marginally better. No, they say this is a secret that ancient Babylonians used to, levitate pyramids around the world. Like, that's why you can't say, oh, it's no harm done. You don't know who's reading these books. So that's my 2 cents on that matter. Nicole Campbell. Thank you so much, Nicole Campbell. Nicole Campbell says, I could only drop in for a little bit, but can't wait to watch this tomorrow. Well, welcome back tomorrow when you're back here. And for that, I say, Nicole,
it's the full moon. If you think you might have worms, go ahead and have a little ice cream.
If you think you have worms, go ahead and have a little ice cream. I don't know how much more specific I can get than that. And also, I say this.
Take off your glasses and go drive a vehicle.
A little rude, but, someone had to say it. And finally, my last thoughts.
I'm going to stomp you.
That's because you're leaving, Nicole, and I just have nothing more to say. Okay, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, we're almost done with this segment.
Well, it's all of the above. I mean, there's everything in between. Let me tell you about a particular person, Colleen Matlock, who I worked with starting a year ago, and with these principles. She was on 12 different medications, diagnosed bipolar, had attempted to commit suicide twice. Mm-hmm. Fast forward 1 year later, she's off all medication. She just got a promotion in her job. She's highly functioning in society.
Right.
You see, there are countless cases of cancer and all kinds of things that have gone into full remission.
Right.
Now, I would never. I'm not a medical professional.
Okay, hang on, Mr. Norcross. There are instances like that where these things happen, where folks sort of get their lives together from looking at a DVD or reading a book.
Where's the proof of this? I think I don't know who this anchor person, his reporter is. I think it's negligent that he would be like, you're right. Like, as if giving credence to what he's saying. Like, give me one example of proof.
Like this.
Well, of course, but we don't know that's causally the case. Mr. Ray and other proponents of The Secret keep talking about cases. Cases are not science. We need randomized clinical trials, the same thing we do in medication studies, to show this is due to it. There's always spontaneous remission. There is always the placebo effect. We need to show The Secret does more than that.
All right.
And there is no reliable scientific evidence that there is a law of attraction or that The Secret works.
Agreed. But it's not as sensational. It's not as fun. It's fun to believe in the law of attraction. It's fun to read The Secret. It's not fun to study. It's not fun to read a study. My God, like, can you think of a worse thing to do with your time? No. So reading The Secret, like the pages are cool and it looks like it's like burnt and it's like ancient technology. It's like, ooh, oh, Albert Einstein. I've heard of him before. And it's a lighthearted romp. But again, it does become serious when you take it seriously. And a lot of people, like myself, unfortunately did. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Woo! Let's go Mets did it an astonished face. Well, aren't we all astonished these days, right? Am I right?
Oh, okay. Colts.
You're astonished from that. And also?
Are you friggin' bonker pants?
Bonker pants in the house. Thank you. Let's go Mets. I appreciate it. All right. So
This stuff has been around for...
Not impressed. I mean, but you see how kind of, charismatic James Arthur Ray is. You can kind of get the vibe. Like he's got the, early 2000s businessman going on. And he definitely has, the typical self-help grifter confidence that you need to just say, like, this is true. Look at this. All this evidence that I have found and I've researched. You can see sort of why people were attracted to him. Okay, so let's talk about... Actually, let's take a second before... Oh yeah, he's got 38 products on his website, including a live event that is no longer going to be happening. There was an event coming up in April that you could buy tickets for $400, $500, but I guess they canceled, obviously. I hate to laugh, but... guess he didn't see that one coming. Anyways, okay. This is just a quick aside. This is from 8 years ago. Do you want to see the best camera work I've ever seen in my life? And I like it because I don't know what's going on with the person. I'm assuming this is his wife recording him or something, but he's like, all right, babe, let's go to the train tracks. I'm going to record a motivational, lecture and we're gonna go viral. Okay, this is it. Like, just you got to get edgy with it. I'm gonna tell them the truth, and I'm sorry this is loud because it doesn't sound like he has a microphone, but I just need to share this with you. Okay.
We all face challenges, let's face it. None of us is immune. The only difference between you and me, if there is a difference of degree. I remember when I was going through my major life tsunami, everything seemed to be crumbling. I had lost...
Okay, his major life tsunami also is him being responsible for 3 people dying. That's his major life tsunami. So that's how he frames it in his mind. It's not a tragic occurrence that happened to 3 other people who lost their lives. It was a tsunami for him because he lost his business.
Lost my business. It took me 20 years to build. My life savings, my home was in foreclosure. The creditors were calling and knocking at my front door. My family was sick. The press was hounding me. I just didn't.
Why was your family sick? What did that have to do with anything?
Didn't feel like I could take it anymore. I called up a Zen master friend of mine and I said, just that. I can't take any more. I was down there. You know what he said to me?
Who is this?
He said, James, ask for more. Now, I got to tell you, I wasn't real pleased when I heard that at the time. I thought he was about the most insensitive bastard I'd ever known in my entire life. But you know what? He was right. Because more was coming. And you got to be able to take it.
Babe, was I in frame?
Ask for more. You know why? Because Nietzsche told us a long time ago, and it's still true today, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. You want something...
Well, unfortunately, for 3 people that he was... leading through a spiritual retreat, they don't have the opportunity to get stronger because they died. I agree. And the most egregious part of this, again, is what happened directly after this incident, this tsunami happened to him. But we're going to get there. We're going to take our time to get there. So when you can get really incensed about what happened.
Is going to knock your socks off. You want life to bring it and bring it hard because it makes you bigger, it makes you bolder, it makes you faster, it makes you stronger. Don't wish for an easier life. That's an illusion. You know that. That's the mediocre mindset of the masses. Wish for greater capacity and capability to get through the challenges life brings, because that's what's going to make you masterful. And that's what most people don't have. And when you do have it, you'll change the world. Let me help you. Click the link on this video. Download my Getting Through. It's actually called Push Beyond the Struggle and Stall. It's a worksheet that gets you thinking in the right direction. It'll get your mind back on mastery versus mediocrity. Is that all you need to do? No, but it's a start, and you got to get started now. I hope I've given you some things to think about. Until we speak again, as always, stay awake. Love life and be epic.
All right, walking away into traffic. And there you go. I guess this was like his website at the time. Yeah. Apply today. Ultimate performance coaching. There's a couple more. I have not seen this one actually, him interviewing Hulk Hogan. So James Arthur Ray, after his Oprah debut, he was offered like a TV show, or he got hooked up with some company or some network that was going to try to get him a show of some kind. I don't know if it was like a talk show or what. Mel Robbins also had a show on NBC for a short stint where she interviewed people. It was kind of like, you know, the Kelly Clarkson show. So I guess they were trying to do that with him. So we could watch that. But there's another one. Oh, yeah. One more of this one. He's in a tree this time. The camera work is so funny. They got 1,000 views, 1.2 thousand views. One more. Just the beginning. Why you want adversity and how to break through. James, let it rip.
You know, I've said it before and it bears repeating. Adversity is your greatest ally. One of the main reasons is because it'll set you apart in the marketplace. Because most people are going to quit. You want great adversity, right? Because if you have great adversity in what you're going after as your magnificent obsession, your outcome, then that means most people aren't going to have the perseverance, the courage, and the tenacity to continue through. They're going to quit. If you're going to quit, let me tell you something. Don't even start.
Do it.
Make up your mind before you even start that I'm not going to quit. But that presupposes that you know you're doing the right thing. Now that's a whole nother discussion, but you've got to find your genius, your one thing, your unique gifts, and then you got to get on it. You got to work it.
All right. I'm over it. I quit. I'm not even going to start. Okay. Also, this La La Land, Good Morning La La Land. All right. Apparently it's like a TV show of some kind. I was like, oh, is this like a local LA news program? No, it's not. It's called Good Morning La La Land, news media agency bringing consciousness and truth to the world. It's just a propaganda point of view morning show. There's Jay Shetty on it, so you know it's good. But yeah, very, very interesting outlet. That was my first time ever hearing it. So we'll come back to that. But okay, let's talk about this one. Let's watch this one, a little bit of it. Hulk Hogan. This is from 11 years ago, 2,000 views, when he was trying to get his TV show going. So this is again before the incident happened.
Terry, welcome.
Thank you, James. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. You know, Hulk Hogan, probably one of the most recognized figures in the entire world. And, you know, you and I are friends. I know a little bit about you, but I don't think a lot of people know about the man.
You and I are friends. I know a little bit about you. Sounds legit.
And Terry. And so you obviously weren't born as Hulk Hogan. So tell us a little bit about where you were born and your life and how you ended up where you are.
Well, almost everyone, knows Hulk Hogan as the one-dimensional wrestler. Crazy, screaming, mustache, bald head, hulking up. So it's I don't want to ruin the mystique, but there is a man behind the character, and that's Terry Bollea. And I grew up in Tampa, Florida. My father basically was a construction worker. My mom was a housewife, and we were, middle class, and we're very excited, on Fridays if my dad would get the family a little minute steak. So we were humble, and we grew up with the baseball and the football and all the stuff that the kids in Florida experienced. And as I grew through my high school and college years, I stumbled into a man when I was 14 years old named Hank Lindstrom, and he was from Ballast Point Baptist Church, and I actually played guitar as a hobby. So when I would go to the little camps on the weekend, I would play the guitar for these kids to sing along with. And as Hank would preach, I would listen. But one weekend it finally sank in, and he was quoting some verses out of the Bible, and he hit on one that really nailed me. It's kind of like something that happened with something you said to me a long time ago. And he hit me with this verse, John 3:16, that who shall ever believe.
Right. And you were 14 years old.
Yeah, I was 14 years old. So at that
Were you
point,
outgoing then, like you are now?
No, I was really heavy, wasn't
overweight?
Oh, very overweight. Wasn't popular with the girls at all. So
No, I was
hid
loaded
behind the
with a
guitar
gun.
and baseball and a few little sports that
Yes,
I could,
overweight.
masquerade and slide through. I wasn't a quick runner, but I'd throw a good fastball, and I could hit the ball a long way as far as baseball. So if it didn't go over the fence, I was pretty much dialed into just getting a single.
Would you say that you were more of an introvert as a child? Or?
No, I wasn't an introvert. I just physically was, held back because I had overeaten, was like the junk food junkie as a kid.
Kids give you a hard time?
Yeah, they did.
Did they? Yeah.
But I found peace in this little Bible study, So when I accepted Christ as my Savior, and when I knew that Jesus had died on the cross to pay for my sins, it changed my whole perception of what was important and what was real and what wasn't.
What do Christians think
from
about
that
The
point on,
Secret?
everything
They
pretty
can't
much
like
changed
it,
with
right?
me.
What did that do for you in that moment? Because you're this overweight kid, kids make fun of you a little bit, as kids do. I had an upbringing like that as well. I wasn't overweight, but I got picked on a lot. I was a real skinny kid with the big glasses and the buck teeth.
There you go.
So I know what it was like.
He's not lying. Okay, he's not lying, because in the documentary they show his kids' photos, like his childhood photos. He changed a lot, I think, his looks. Like, he was just a little kid that, was cutesy. I don't think they have any on here. If you watch the documentary Enlighten Me, you'll see what he used to look like. Very cute, but definitely, yeah, he's right. Goofy looking. All right, so he's got shows. He was trying to make a show about interviewing Hulk Hogan about Christ. Okay, very exciting stuff. All right, let me go back to his Instagram. Actually, what is his website? Okay, let me just give you all the background. So he dropped out of junior college in 1978, then started working for AT&T. He did the Covey leadership stuff. He claims he worked for it more than he actually did. He was just sort of like an employee of AT&T. Before the Sweat Lodge deaths occurred, there was already some problematic behavior incidents going on at his retreats. He tended to have this vibe of more extreme, more, risky every time he did something to, like, I guess get the media's attention or try to, like, sell some, excitement to people at these conferences. So he did sweat lodges before, and one guy had passed out and had to be hospitalized previously. So there had already been red flags and warnings before the 3 people died. One woman broke her hand breaking a board. So this is something that I actually witnessed in person, not with James Arthur Ray, but with a different guru, because I was doing their video production back in 2021, and it was like a Christian-based self-help group, and they broke boards. And no one hurt themselves that I saw when I was in person, but definitely could have. Like, it's just a hotel ballroom, Like, there's no one being an expert there. And the people that are on stage are just regular. They have no karate experience, nothing. There's like, here's a board, break it, and you'll feel better. So someone broke her hand before at one of his events doing that. I guess he used to do these exercises where you would put rebar between you and your like partner or your friend, and you'd put the rebar on your neck, and then you'd like go together and you'd like bend the rebar with the bone of your neck. And so they did that. And then they did that with an arrow. He told you to put the arrow, the sharp point of the arrow at your neck and like bend it. And I guess it slipped and sliced someone's eyebrow at one point. And then the most serious of all the pre-event, the big sweat lodge incident. Before that, the biggest other one was a woman named Colleen Conaway. She had attended a seminar by James Ray, and he had told people, I guess, to go out in the world. And this is part of the Wondery podcast. I forget the name exactly, but it's like Guru something, and it's really good. So if you have a chance to listen to it, I recommend it. But they talk about it more in detail. But he told people to go out in the world and pretend you're homeless, like wear, clothes that will make you look like you don't have a home, and then see how people treat you, like interact in the world as a homeless person to get some perspective. And so she did this, Colleen Conaway, one of the attendees, and then she ended up jumping to her death, at a mall in San Diego. And she had no ID on her or anything. So it was like, why did this woman jump? And I guess she was doing an exercise at that time that, he had told them to do. So, can't say it's his fault, obviously, but definitely kind of shows the type of people he was working with and telling to do these things. He, again, has no psychological training or background or anything, and he's bringing in anyone and telling them to do things. And now, there's been some results. The documentary is called Enlighten Us. It's on Amazon or it's on YouTube to rent. James Arthur Ray was a big believer in positive thinking, similar to Louise Hay. If you have the right willpower, you can stay free of all illness and physical ailments. So we already heard about that. He had a pyramid-like structure to his courses and to his programs. So it was literally a pyramid. This guy just went in full grift. And the first thing was you come to a free conference or you read his book. That's level 1. And then to go up the levels, almost like Scientology, you have to keep paying more and more money and they keep getting more and more intense. And at the top of the pyramid, so imagine all these other products are down here. At the top of the pyramid was Spiritual Warrior. And you were supposed to, in theory, go step by step by step by step. By the time you're at the top, you've gone through a bunch of these trials and you've learned all you can. But of course, there is a quick way to get to the top, which is pay more. So one of the victims went to, maybe all of them, but at least one of the victims went to a seminar that he was putting on, and he made an offer that if you buy the Spiritual Warrior package today, you can skip all the other levels and go right to the top for $10,000. So that's where Kirby Brown is her name, one of the people who passed away. That's how she got involved and decided to do Spiritual Warrior, which is a 36-hour, intense, transformative experience in Sedona, Arizona, the last day being the sweat lodge, and that's where she ended up dying. Sorry, Kirby Brown. What did I say? That's her name. Okay. He's definitely is if you watch the documentary Enlighten Us, he's definitely like Tony Robbins in 2 very specific ways. 3, I think he looks similar to Tony Robbins in a lot of ways. I don't know. He's got the similar masculine vibe. I'm a man and I'm on the stage and you can trust me. I can be your dad figure. He's got that. But he also has the techniques, the speaking techniques, which I believe to be NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is not a scientific thing as far as I understand. It's a pseudoscience thing, but it's a manipulative tactic to try to lead people to trust you. And so a thing he does a lot did a lot, was ask a question. So, do you want to change your life? Yes or no? And everyone goes, yes. Do you want to do anything to get that change? Yes. Tony Robbins does the same thing, but he says, if you want to change your life, say I. And everyone says it together in unison. It's supposed to, I guess, bring a feeling of bonding together, but they both did that. And then also Tony Robbins, if you're familiar, he'll do this thing that was physically does that to get everyone to know that, okay, I'm starting something new. James Arthur Ray also did that on stage. He would go literally just copying it exactly and going, yes. So that's how they're both similar to me. Okay, so a little timeline. So in 2006, The Secret comes out. He does the Oprah interview later that year, and he does a second Oprah interview. So he's got, his star is rising. The Sweat Lodge incident happens in 2009. Okay, so let's jump in there a little bit. Let's see, not this one. Okay, this one I think is an all-encompassing package. Let's see.
For weeks, James Arthur Ray published...
This guy is Dan Harris. He also wrote a self-help book that I read called 10% Happier. It's not the worst. He had a panic attack while doing the morning show one day. And from then he was like, oh, I need to fix my life. And he was doing a lot of cocaine is what it turned out to be. And so then he did a meditation retreat. So he's also in the grift sphere, but I think he's I would hope, much more logical. But I haven't checked in with him in a while, so remains to be seen.
Publicly defended his decision to keep up his public appearances, saying continuing his quote-unquote important work was the best way to honor the dead. Clearly, something in the past 24 hours has changed.
Okay, so that's the preview, but basically this is after the incident happened, but after 3 people died at this retreat, he wasn't arrested immediately. He was continuing to do self-help seminars, which is also saying a lot.
When fans of James Arthur Ray showed up for his event in Toronto last night, they were greeted by a sign saying the show had been canceled.
From what I know, James Ray's getting a lot of heat over what's happened down south. So I imagine something's happened with that, and I'm sure his legal team is saying, don't get involved.
But as it turns out, Ray canceled his events for the rest of the year so he can focus on helping police in the Sedona investigation. For that reason, he posted on his website, these events will be rescheduled as soon as possible in 2010 once the essential work that must be done on the Sedona tragedy has been completed. It was supposed to be Ray's 3rd event since 3 people died earlier this month in a sweat lodge ceremony that Ray organized.
Yeah, so there's the sweat lodge, the $10,000 worth sweat lodge, made of tarps and plastic chairs, and apparently run by like volunteers, rando people from they call them the Dream Team. I don't think, again, any qualifications. Everyone was just like winging it here. Yeah.
At his so-called spiritual warrior retreat. Andrea Puckett's mother, Liz Newman, was one of the participants. She went into a coma as a result of severe dehydration and later died.
What do you think should happen to James Arthur Ray now?
I think that he should take responsibility for his role in this incident. And honestly, I think he deserves to be behind bars. I think that he was completely negligent. And I believe that he is responsible for my mother's death.
Shortly after the deaths, Ray posted a message on his website expressing his condolences to the families.
That's not who you are.
James Ray's self-help star rose dramatically after appearing in the 2006 best-selling book and movie The Secret, which preaches the law of attraction, which says you can attract anything you want, money, love, improved health, through the power of your thoughts.
If you are constantly thinking, feeling, and acting broke, then you're never going to attract prosperity in your life.
In this interview I conducted with Ray in 2007, he defended The Secret against critics who were asking, what does The Secret say about the victims of tragedies like the Holocaust or 9/11? Are those people to blame for simply thinking incorrectly?
I know many people, for instance, of the Jewish faith and heritage who don't necessarily believe that the Holocaust was bad. Now that might be shocking to you, but I have people on record who have said, hey, there was a lot of good things that came out of that, a lot of lessons, a lot of opportunities for the world.
The Sweat Lodge disaster.
Someone called Maria from Scentbird. They're two peas in a pod, them two. Jesus Christ. I did not hear that before. What is wrong with people? I've heard, what do you have to say about people in the Holocaust? They just didn't think themselves positive enough? I know a lot of people that would say the Holocaust, not the worst thing that happened that year, huh? That's one way to think about it. Oh my God. I can't think of a more offensive thing. 9/11, some people said that was not so bad. Yeah, Osama bin Laden. He said it was a great day. So, I mean, some people said it was good. Okay. Thanks, Jar.
Came out of that a lot of lessons, a lot of opportunities for the world.
The Sweat Lodge disaster is not the first time Ray has had trouble at one of his events. Donna Fleming unsuccessfully took Ray to court to get a refund for the $6,000 she paid for a retreat where Ray made her and others dress up as homeless people.
We're all loaded onto buses with no idea of where we're going, and it was on the bus that we were told that we were going to be dropped off in downtown San Diego. And I finally realized, without any doubt, that I had been taken for a substantial sum of money for an absolutely ridiculous experience.
But Dave Orton disagrees. He went through the same homeless exercise this past December and loved it.
Isn't the irony that someone paid $6,000 to pretend to be homeless? That's such an American story. I can't even, get a grasp on how ridiculously stupid that is.
And I took away from this experience was that I can survive in any circumstances. I can take from nothing and create exactly what I want to create.
Bob Proctor, a self-help superstar in his own right and an early mentor for James Ray, says his friend has helped a lot of people.
I know him to be a different person, but I don't know what happened there. And a lot of people are commenting about him that don't know him and weren't there.
So, as a believer in the law of attraction, did Ray attract this disaster into his life?
Yes.
Well, here's what Ray said on the topic of responsibility when I interviewed him 2 years ago.
I fully know, for me, that there's no blame. Every single thing is your responsibility, as I've said so many times, and nothing is your fault. Because every single thing that comes to you is a gift. It's a lesson.
Huh? Everything's your fault, but nothing's your fault? Okay, I'm confused. That seems like you're having it both ways there, dude.
We asked James Ray for another interview, but were instead given a statement from his lawyer who said, and I'm quoting here, Mr. Ray was not the one who was responsible for the design, construction, or maintenance of the Sweat Lodge. All of the participants in the event were fully informed of the health risks that could be posed by sweat lodges. Robin?
There's so much more here, Dan, isn't there?
There's a lot here, I think.
I'm having trouble getting past what he said about the Holocaust to you.
I think a lot of people will find that interesting.
But people are still showing up for his seminars. They had to be turned away.
He's a very popular man, has a broad appeal. People like his message.
Yeah, all right, Dan, thanks. And you can find...
Good times. Okay, so let's talk about the actual event. So before the Sweat Lodge, that was like the big finale, right? Of the weekend, 36 hours. And another part of it was that you could and should have shaved your head. So they provided razors. And let's look at the... hold on, let me open it over here. The Sweat Lodge again. They provided like haircuts, essentially, for people, women, men, whoever, to shave their head to, I guess, prove that they were, willing to sacrifice for to change their lives, I guess. I don't know exactly what they were thinking, but so some people you'll see in the interviews, they have a shaved head because that's where they got it done, was at the event. So there it is. It's like a makeshift, whatever, ceremonial spot in the woods, it seems like. That's what it is. So beforehand, before they even got there, they spent $10,000 to be there. They all, some people shaved their head, some people didn't. They were told to fast for 36 hours and apparently didn't have much water, if any, at all, for that period of time, which obviously if you're going to be sweating in a small enclosed space with 60 other people, probably not the best idea. And allegedly they were left alone the night before in a sleeping bag in the middle of the woods, and they were offered ponchos from James Arthur Ray. You could buy a poncho. Guess for how much? $250 you could buy a poncho for to take with you in your sleeping bag. Again, a $10,000 retreat, an additional $250 for a poncho. Okay, so again, like 60 people went in there, including James himself, and they kept bringing in, they closed the door, makeshift door, and they brought in rocks and like put water on the rocks, and it was like steam and, basically fire was in there. And I think we can show another picture. Hold on. There's more like inside too. Let's see. Stand by. Here's what it looked like inside. I'm trying to get a bigger image, but it keeps making when you want to sign into the New York magazine. We'll just zoom in. Stand by. Okay. There. So there's rocks. There's like a little shallow hole in the ground, and then there's rocks. Right? And it's covered in tarp, and it's made with like sticks and string. So 60 people crunch in there, and some people had done it before. One of the women who died, and that was 49-year-old Liz Newman, she had done it before, and this is going to be heartbreaking for people listening. Liz Newman, who ended up passing away, she passed away like a week later in the hospital. She had actually survived initially. She passed out, was unconscious. They transported her, I think, by helicopter to the hospital, but she ended up passing away from her injuries. She had spent over $100,000 over 7 years to specifically James Arthur Ray. Gave him $100,000 of her money to do these retreats. She had done the Sweat Lodge previously. So someone allegedly asked her, hey, you don't look good. Do you want to leave? And she said no, because she had survived previously. And he was encouraging them all to stay and to like play full out and, go for it. And you can do it and don't leave, which obviously led to her death. And the two other victims were 38-year-old Kirby Brown and 40-year-old James Shore. And they passed out in the tent, and they never regained consciousness. They died at the scene. Okay, so that's what happened, and they did rounds. So some people did end up leaving because they couldn't breathe, and some people got out and were injured, had to be transferred to the hospital. There's 18 people total that went to the hospital, I believe. And then the 3 victims who ended up dying. All right, let's see. Okay, so here's one of the survivors. This is someone who obviously shaved their head for the event and made it out of the Sweat Lodge. This is what they had to say after the event happened.
Morning.
Great, thank you very much.
Well, it is good to see you, and
all right, it's Buzzy.
All the things that you have been telling us about what happened inside that tent, the vomiting, gasping for air. What was James Ray doing when all this was taking place?
James Ray was the leader, so James Ray was the gatekeeper of the door, so he actually would, he opened the door and called for the number of rocks, closed the door and started the chants. So
but his response,
he was the leader of everything that was going on.
So he didn't act alarmed that people were falling out all around, that people were vomiting, that they were one man allegedly was so disoriented he was going for the hot coals, and he didn't have any kind of response to that?
I don't recall that he had any response to the man that was going into the rocks, because other people were trying to prevent that gentleman from doing that. But when everybody was actually throwing up or they were spitting and stuff, I mean, that was actually considered your body actually purging its toxins and getting rid of what we don't need or the bad things that were inside. So
Yeah, so this is a big part of how they prosecuted him was that he basically told everyone in advance, and there was audio recordings because the staff or the team that he built recorded everything he said because, he's a guru, so everything he says is gold. But that actually worked against him because he had told everyone, you're going to throw up, you are going to be so hot, you're going to feel like you're going to die, but you won't die, so just stick it out, you can do it. If you have to leave, you can leave, but you can do it. So he did say, if you want to leave, you can leave. But it was basically like, if you want to be a spiritual warrior, which is what you paid 10 grand to do and be here, you should stay. And it's going to feel like you're dying, but you're actually not. So fight through that feeling. So that was obviously bad advice because he described the symptoms of, I think it's not hyperthermia. So it's the opposite of being so cold that you end up getting ill. You're so hot and dehydration. And some people got burned. Like it was like a nightmare scenario going on here.
Since this time, have you heard?
I guess he felt that was a good thing.
Since this time, have you heard from James Ray at all? We heard about a conference call of some sort.
Okay, I don't know what she's going to say here, but the conference call is the reason why I do not forgive him for what he did, because to me, it's the most egregious part of this whole thing. I mean, the worst part is 3 people dying. The second worst part is, again, how he handled it immediately after, and then on this conference call that allegedly occurred. I haven't heard the audio, but the person who is like the clients that he had the conference call with recorded it and gave it to the Associated Press. So I do tend to believe that it was true. We'll get there.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I've heard from James Ray is at a conference call. After the incident and after everything happened, James Ray pretty much abandoned all of us. He left us all there to figure out what was going on. There was a little bit of correspondence amongst a few of his staff members that they came in, and it wasn't until the homicide detective actually came in and filled us in on what was going on with Kirby and James and Sydney and Liz and the number of other people that were in the hospital. But James Ray he never came, after the incident, he never came back. The next morning we were given a note on the table that was written by his staff saying that James was in prayer and meditation, and to this day I've never heard from James Ray. I've never talked to James Ray.
You mentioned Kirby.
Yeah, so imagine the ceremony's going on and people are starting to have reactions. They're throwing up, they're starting to sweat, they're starting to leave the tent because it's too intense. 2 people pass out, never to wake up again, and one person is like seizing and convulsing, and then she goes to the hospital. Imagine that scenario playing out in that, tent that we just saw a picture of, and then the leader leaving. He went back to his room, like before the police got there. Someone called 911. It was not him. One of his staff people called 911 to report that people are unconscious. Okay, James goes to his room on site and takes a shower. He's sweaty. He's got to take a shower, okay? No problem. He's the guru. He gets to do what he wants. And then the police come and bang on his door. And he's like, when he was telling the story on the documentary, it's almost like as he was perturbed. Like, they come barging at my door. It's like, yeah, because 3 people are dead and they're all here to listen to you. This is a business thing you got running here. They're your clients and they're dying. Well, yeah, we're coming to talk to you at the very least. So the police come to his door on site, and then apparently he calls his lawyer, and his lawyer says, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with calling a lawyer in a time of, crisis like this. However, you don't do that and then not help the people that you're with. You can do both. You can call a lawyer and also assist with people you allegedly care about. He called these people, he told he's given speeches and he's told press outlets, these are my friends that I loved. Friends that you love, you don't leave as they're dying. Like, I'm sorry to say, especially if it's something that you encouraged them to do. Anyway, so he decides not to speak to the police and leaves the area. Just gets in the car, peace out, peace, good luck, bye. There's like helivac, there's, multiple ambulances. It's a small area. It's not like a huge town. So they're rushing to the hospital. People are dead. These people are dazed because they're coming out of the hot, facility. What I even call it facility. They're coming out of the lodge, and they all then meet in the cafeteria. James Arthur Ray, nowhere to be seen. The team is covering for him, saying he's in prayer and meditation. Meanwhile, he's booking it because his lawyer says don't become liable in this situation. Not a great leadership move for me. Not an enlightened being move for me. So there you go.
You mentioned Kirby Brown, who was your roommate. I'm very sorry for your loss that she did not survive. You said you wanted to give her CPR.
Thank you.
But you were not allowed to.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, I'm an orthodontist, and I'm trained in CPR as part of my credentials. I told the Dream Team about 10 times. When I was taken out of the tent, it took about 15 minutes or so for me to actually regain total mobility. I was conscious the whole entire time I was in the tent, and then when I came out, my body was a wee bit weak, but then once I was up and around, I was able to help people out, and I saw them giving CPR to James. When I actually figured out I was looking everywhere for Kirby, and I couldn't find her, and then I figured out where Kirby was, and Kirby was next to James, and I saw her through the tent. I told them about 10 times, I know CPR, I know CPR. I knew the people were getting tired because they had to be doing CPR for 15 or 20 minutes.
That's a long time.
We had no medical assistance or anything, and the Dream Team told me, you can't go over there, you can't go over there, you can't go over there, and they just kept pulling me away and pulling me away.
I know how difficult that had to be, because
that
had to be so difficult because you know CPR. She was a friend and you wanted to help her. I don't have to tell you this. You know, there are many people that are saying, Beverly, why did you all not, and others, why did you not get up and get out of that tent? Why did you stay in that tent for so long?
Because, unfortunately, the whole point of the entire weekend, that, again, they're maybe not pause on that face. The reason that they're there is to push their boundaries, to push the limits. If you want to live a normal life, then just be a normal person. This is extraordinary. You need to be a rock star. You need to push past your, emotional safety nets. Comfort is the, what do you call it? Success starts outside of your comfort zone or whatever. And I ruined that quote, but you know what I mean? Like all those things that they push at you, all of that indoctrination of why you feel bad about yourself is because you're the type of person who would leave a sweat lodge. Okay, so they have all of that ruminating in their mind, plus probably being overcome by like the hot logs that are in there and the rocks, and also wanting to please the master. Like, he's not a cult leader per se, but he's definitely someone who's claiming to have all the answers, claiming to have figured out life so well that he can teach you how to do yours. You're primed and ready to trust him. That's why, I think.
We stayed in there for many, many different reasons. You understand that we had been actually under the leadership of James Ray for 4 days or 5 days. We trusted him. We trusted in what he was teaching us. We also believe that, this has been done for 4 or 5 years or 7 years, I'm not quite sure, that it was a safe place. And this was, quote, the pinnacle event. And so it was somewhat of a challenge. These were astronomical people that I was with. There are a lot of overachievers, highly successful people that push themselves to the nth degree. And
again, authorities are investigating as a possible homicide thanks to Beverly Bunn, but right now no charges have been filed.
Well, that changed. Okay, so let's talk about the conference call. So the conference call happened, I guess, a few weeks after the event happened. And this is at the same time the investigation is going on with, I don't know if it's the sheriff's office or the police, but they were investigating and they found out that the lodge did not have the required and necessary permits to be able to operate. So now there is a legal issue going on. While that's going on, he holds a conference call, okay, for all the people that were there at the sweat lodge, because I'm assuming at this point people wanted answers. They were like pissed that, you know, he had disappeared, left them, abandoned them, especially people who probably have that in their past. I'm imagining that's a very traumatic situation to go through, to be abandoned at a time of, you know, tragedy. So apparently on the conference call, there was a person who is a self-described channeler, right? They can channel, therefore they can speak to the dead. And they were on this call. And so the channeler went to the Angel Valley, which is where the sweat lodge took place, and claimed to have communicated with the dead. The channeler said the three people who died, again, Kirby Brown, James Shore, and Liz Newman, that they had left their bodies in the sweat lodge and chose not to come back. So don't even just choose joy, choose to die on purpose because you're having so much fun you don't want to return to your body. So that is the mental gymnastics that these people will do to justify that, yeah, they died, but they chose to die because I talked to them because I'm intuitive and I can speak to the dead and they're having such a great time. So no worries, everybody. Don't sue him. We love our guru. Keep going to his events. That I just felt was like just rubbing salt in a wound, no pun intended, like how much worse can you make the families of these victims feel? Oh, they chose to leave. Thanks. Like they chose to leave, you know, their families behind because they're having so much fun, you know, getting overwhelmed by smoke inhalation. Like, anyways. So he does end up getting arrested. He does get charged with negligent homicide. However, he is found not guilty for 3 counts of negligent homicide. And I tend to agree with that, not in principle or like morally, but based on the law. I, again, do not think he went in intentionally trying to kill his clients. But he was found guilty. He was found guilty of negligent homicide and not guilty of manslaughter. So that's the difference. So he was negligent. That was obvious. But he was found not guilty of manslaughter, which I agree with. He was found specifically responsible for causing the deaths of those 3 people. And whether he knew or not of the risks, he had still subjected them to it. So he was sentenced to 2 years in prison back in 2011. Now that's what he calls the tsunami of his life. Then he goes on Piers Morgan in 2013 to revamp and revitalize his self-help career. So before we get to that part, let's hear about the testimony. I haven't heard this one yet, but I'm interested to hear what the followers testified.
Explosive finger pointing in a Yavapai County courtroom as former followers of spiritual guru James Ray testify against him. All new at 10, ABC 15's Rutabe Shabazi explains why some claim the problem started years ago.
She was calling, James, help me, James, help me. And he looked at her, he heard her yell because she was loud, and he did not come over.
Amira Hamilton owns the land where James Ray held the 2009 Sweat Lodge ceremony that left 3 people dead.
He told me not to call 911. I said I'll do it anyway.
Says he told me not to call 911, but I did anyways. I wonder how many other people would have died if they did not call 911 at the time that they did.
Others told the judge of dragging out victims in a state of anguish.
And her eyes are floating back in her head and her face is all bloody and you know, I just dragged her away out of the doorway because somebody else was coming out behind them throwing up.
Ray's lawyers established that participants had free will to stay inside the sweat lodge.
You're not telling us that anybody from James Ray's organization or James Ray himself is forcing anybody to stay in any sweat lodge?
Not at all.
But prosecutors did allude to physical force in a 2007 ceremony, when a former employee testified half the people even then got sick, saying that Ray's ceremonies got more aggressive over the years.
They were more pushy, trying to get people in, and they actually tried physically to push one lady back into the sweat lodge.
More witnesses are expected to testify over the next couple days, a window into what will likely be key evidence in the trial. Rudabeh Shabazi, ABC 15 News.
So there you go. So a little bit more information. Okay, one more thing. So this is also during the time before he went to prison for 2 years, where he was still trying to keep the grift going, even though
for the first time
evidence was starting to mount against him.
For the first time since he was released from jail, we're hearing this morning from James Ray. He's the self-help guru charged in connection with the deaths of 3 of his followers at a sweat lodge in Arizona. As our Mike Von Friend reports, Ray says he's a humbled man, but he still wants to help his people.
Prosecutors say what happened.
Sorry, it's so low. I think I have that volume thing on here. Yeah, hold on.
Happened in this Sedona sweat lodge in October was not an accident. It was manslaughter.
2 people hard breathing. For the first time since he was released from jail, we're hearing this morning from James Ray. He's the self-help guru charged in connection with the deaths of 3 of his followers at a sweat lodge in Arizona. As our Mike Von Friend reports, Ray says he's a humbled man, but he still wants to help his people.
Prosecutors say what happened in this Sedona sweat lodge in October was not an accident. It was manslaughter.
2 people hard breathing. There was no pulse.
This self-help guru could go to prison for more than 30 years. His trial begins in August, but Ray is already trying to reach new followers through the internet.
You might also be aware that I don't have a company any longer, and so I'm going to ask you to join me here via the internet.
He also set up a Twitter account. Andrea Puckett lost her mother in the sweat lodge. She says she's upset Ray continues to try to spread his message.
You know, he's got every right to do it. Is it the right thing for him to do? No. If he truly felt bad about what's happened here and respected the families and people that he's affected, he would just keep quiet during this time.
I agree.
Many are anxious to see if he will rise yet again and become an internet phenomenon or write yet another nationwide bestseller.
I have a wealth of information still inside of me.
This self-professed spiritual...
Hold on. It got frozen on the screen. Okay. You can hear it though, right?
Warrior continues to work hard to try to get his message out. For Good Morning America, Mike Von Friend, ABC News.
Like, what message? The message is, pay me money, do physical exertion tasks, and you'll feel better about yourself. And also, you know, illness is in your mind. However, he cries on Piers Morgan saying that his mother had cancer while he was going through the trial, and she had to have her thyroid removed and, you know, was going through chemo at the time. Where's the teachings for her? Why would she even get the surgery? Why would she even do that? If he is the master and believes that the Holocaust was a good thing and that those people, you know, learned such great lessons and that illness is all in the mind, why wouldn't he train his mom to not have cancer anymore? It's so weird. He's like, oh, my mom had cancer and so I knew she had limited time. Isn't that a limiting belief? Like, it's only real if it's for other people. Like, his lessons and teachings are applicable to life if it's not for him. But when he speaks candidly about his own stuff, it's like, oh, of course, like, you know, she had cancer, so I knew her time was limited. Well, the way you teach, you wouldn't actually believe that if you believed what you claim to be into. Anyways. Okay. This is an old one. We don't need that.
News after almost.
No. We saw that one. Okay, wait, look at this one. Oh, there's me. Ah! Jump scare. Okay. So let me look at my notes. Hold on. So Piers Morgan, he was like super, I thought, pretty lenient towards James Arthur Ray for what the situation was. Not that I'm surprised, because Piers Morgan sucks. He sucks generally, and his takes are bad. I love a true crime show, basically any format, like for the most part, unless it's people making jokes about it. Like there's one podcast I listened to once. I don't even know what it's called, but it was like, hey girlfriend, let's talk about murder. And I did not like that. But a professionally done interview series with people in the criminal justice system, whatever, I'll watch it. There's really none that I won't watch. I watched one with Piers Morgan as the host. I could not turn it off fast enough. And I gave it a chance thinking, okay, how bad could it be? It was horrendous. Like the questions he asked are so asinine and like stupid. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why would they pick you for this? So anyways, that in mind, he interviews James Ray, and it's interesting as to why he, was so lighthearted towards him. And one of the things that really pissed me off that he said was like, well, now you're actually more qualified to be an even better motivational speaker and self-help person because you've really been through it now. You've been to prison. So now you can even be a more effective coach. And I was like, oh, great. That's a wonderful message to be putting in this dude's head on television to people watching. Like, no. But anyways. So the reason why I think that he was being so light towards him is because it turns out that John Ferriter, Ferriter, was Piers Morgan's manager, and who was also James Arthur Ray's manager and media contact. So maybe Piers Morgan had some sort of incentive with his own manager to boost James Arthur Ray's return to self-help because his manager was going to be making money if he made money. That is unethical as hell, just to start. But very interesting, because I thought it was weird that he was so like, yes, this makes you even more qualified. And then to find out, oh, they share a manager. Sketch. Anyways, here's part of that. This is after prison. So he goes to prison for 2 years, comes out, hair is longer. He's ready to go back to the grift.
What's the single biggest thing you learned from your time in prison?
There's so many. I think the biggest thing I've learned, there's a lot of things, but
think of one.
Is that I felt like in prison, first of all, I was scared to death when I went in. I didn't know if I was going to be beat up or stabbed or raped. All I knew about prison was what I saw on the movies, and I was scared.
I mean, when you found yourself in those first few weeks, as you said, with death row inmates, it's about as low as your life could possibly have got, coming down from this huge high. What the hell were you thinking as you sat in yourself?
I had to play mental games with myself, because I had to wear shackles to the shower. You get a shower twice a week, and you have to be escorted in shackles to the shower, and it was an amazing experience. But
humiliating.
Well, humbling. It was filthy, and it was...
He really makes himself the victim out of this whole thing. If this was me and I felt true remorse, I think my answer would be, it was horrible. I hated every minute of it, but, I paid my time. I paid my debt to society, and I'll never be able to replace what I took in my role in the lives of 3 people who believed in me, and I let them down. And I will do everything in my power to reconcile that from now until the day I die. I will try to honor them through my work. That, I think, is a better answer than prison was really hard. I was scared and I didn't know. It's like, yeah, of no shit, but you deserve to be there because of what you did. And the justice system worked. And he went on a whole thing, you know, he believes that it was prosecutorial oversight. And I'm sure there was things that had gone on in court, as they always do, where, you know, there were certain points that they brought up or certain witnesses that were, you know, untrue or not fully what. I don't think that that's unheard of. However, the facts of the case are that he was the leader. He pushed people to be there. They were there for him and he abandoned them at the end. So I think you deserve to be in prison. Like, he only did 2 years. There was 3 people who died. He didn't even get a year for each life, you know? So for him complaining and making it seem like, oh man, like I'm humbled, at the very least, you should be.
Disease ridden, but at the end of the day, I met a lot of really interesting people. And you know, back to what I learned there, when I first got there, Piers, I saw everyone else and then me. And then the longer I was there, I just saw us. And I felt like I was in the boiler room in the bowels of the ship of humanity. And in the boiler room, it's hot and we fight and we scrap and we take drugs nonstop, believe it or not. And we tattoo our gang affiliations all over our face and bodies to try to show our importance and to escape our pain. Up in the penthouse of the same ship,
the penthouse of the ship,
there's still the same pain. You know, we cheat with our best friend's wife, and we have to build our business bigger and make more money, and we tattoo with jewelry and cars and houses. The pain is the same. It's the human experience. The only difference.
I don't know if the pain's the same in prison as it is getting a tattoo, AKA buying jewelry for myself that, you know, may not be actually fulfilling in any way, but makes me feel materially better. Yeah, it's the same as being in prison. It's like, okay, dude. And a very interesting choice of words. Oh, it's hot in the boiler room. Is it hotter than the fucking lodge that you made that people died in? Was it hotter than that? Because I don't think so. I don't think so.
The difference is how we try to escape it. And that's the great lesson, one of the great lessons, the many that I learned.
Who gives a shit what lessons you learned? Hotter than the fucking lodge that you... Sorry. Repeat. Okay. So let's see. He was a big guy in Amway, by the way. He was always speaking at Amway conferences, apparently, before this all happened. I'm just reading my notes through. He claimed that he trained with a Peruvian shaman in something. That's one of his claims to fame. He used to think that it's a sin to be poor. He learned that as a child. Let's see what else. Okay, that's it. That's the main things from before that I wanted to make sure I said. So I'm gonna play. This is from only 9 months ago. It's long, but I went in and picked out some sections that I thought would be good to listen to. The first one being at 25 minutes, and where he talks about the gift of going bankrupt from the tsunami event of his life. So this was one of the last interviews that he gave before he passed away. There's a few more. Oh wait, I missed a chat. I'm so sorry. There's a few more interviews, but they have literally like 10 views, like hot piping tea. No one's ever seen them before, and they're long. They're all long as hell. So this one seemed to be like the most juicy, I guess. So we'll listen to some parts of that. But first, thank you so much to Eat More Paint. Thank you. Eat More Paint. I can never have enough paint.
I don't do murder. That is not a thing I do.
That's what James Ray said when he was in court. I don't do murder. I only do negligent homicide. Duh. And he farted on the judge. Okay. Eat More Paint.
I do number 2.
Eat More Paint also was chanting, "Get good. Get good."
I love selling stuff online.
Get good.
I don't know if you're like my daughter or my young sister.
Gross.
Oh, this is really good for me.
Life is literary. Thank you as well. Thank you so much. Life is literary. Life is literary says, right, but what was the universe conspiring to teach me by 3 people dying? What's the lesson for me? Exactly. What was the Holocaust doing for you? Is what you should ask yourself. Every tragedy, what did I learn? That's the most important thing. God has his favorites, and God is always out there to teach you a lesson through murdering other people. That's what I learned, and that's what I believe.
You probably have parasites.
And I also believe that you probably have parasites. And also, I believe that I speak Espanol.
I speak Spanish pretty well. Pinchos.
And I also believe that the best car in the market is
Toyota Grand Highlander.
That one's such a random clip. Thank you. Life is literary. It is quite literary, isn't it? Okay, here he's going to talk about the wonderful lesson that is going bankrupt.
An individual, you know, maybe you have it, maybe you don't. I don't know.
That's him speaking a little too fast for me. Okay, there you
go. But I think what I would say is that you have to love something enough and want it enough to endure. And, you know, I had the house in Beverly Hills on Mulholland Drive, 7,500 square foot estate, and everybody goes, oh, wow, that would be great. Well, not as great as you think. You know, I mean, my house payment was $25,000 a month.
That stings a little bit.
Isn't that nuts? And my yard crew was $5,000 a month, and the HOA and the taxes and.
I feel like this is just a way to brag, because I do think he has had, because he's dead, he had an addiction to power. He had an addiction to making money. Like, there's certain people that just have this like insatiable drive to keep going despite it not working. And some of this is like, you know, wow, great determination, grit. But some of it is like, after a while, it's like there's something going on here more than just you really care about success. It's the only thing that feeds you or that can motivate you to do anything. Like, you're not even enjoying, which I kind of do tend to agree, you're not even enjoying the spoils of your labor. You're just obsessively trying to make more so that you can feel powerful. That's what I think he's got, is that problem. And now that he's been knocked off the mountain, so to speak, so far down, I think that's why his life seemed to just never quite recover. He was never the guru that he was going to be the billionaire guru. That's the first billionaire guru. That was like his goal, I guess. That was like his big, you know, dream, was like, I'm going to be the first guru that makes $1 billion, as if that's something to behold and to, you know, as an admirable trait, that's what your desire is. But I think without that element of worship, he was an unhappy person, whether he had trillions of dollars or nothing. The worship and the power that had, like, came with telling people to go sit in a hot, you know, lodge, I think was his like addiction. That's the vibe I got.
And so you just have to keep going. You know, my assistant.
So anyways, that to say, he's showing off now by he's saying it in a humble way, like, oh, I don't have this anymore, and how annoying it really was to have a $25,000 mortgage. But in reality, he wants you to be impressed, like, wow, you had all these things. Even though he doesn't have them anymore, you're still impressed with his past self.
Say, hey, when are you going to go to Kona? Well, I'll get there. I'll get there. No, you know, and so in many ways, when the whole situation drove me into bankruptcy, it was a gift. It was liberating, you know, because here's the other thing that I realized too, when I was involved in the terrible accident in 2009, and quite frankly, Andy, any thinking individual looking at the situation knew it was an accident. But the state of Arizona prosecuted me with a crime. And so the minute that happened, I lost not only 3 people I loved and cared about, which maybe you know something about, and it's heartbreaking, but I also lost my reputation, I lost my life savings, I lost my home, I lost my Inc. 500 company that took me 20 years to build. He seems
like he has much more passion about that, the latter part of what he's saying there. He's like, not only did I lose 3 people I loved and cared about, which I don't believe. Those are your customers. I don't think you love and care about your customers the way that you love and care about someone in your life that's actually there for real. But okay, his reputation, his business, that's the stuff he's passionate about. He's like, it was an accident, which I agree with. It was an accident. However, you are still negligent and responsible. And that's what the courts found.
I lost my friends, so-called colleagues and friends, people who, going back to what we said earlier, you never really know if someone's there for you or if they really care about you. Well, you find out in a crisis, because people who clamored to share the stage with me or wanted to do a joint venture with me or couldn't wait to just be associated with me disappeared like mist in the noonday sun, just gone. And that...
Duh! That's the self-help industry. Everyone also dropped Rachel Hollis in a second. They were like, as soon as she got in trouble, gone. That was it. Like a select few stood around at the sidelines and sort of did her events quietly and whatnot. But same thing. It's like these people in the self-help, they act, my best friend, I love you. Oh my gosh, we are going to do a mastermind together. Oh my God, you are so great. Your followers, oh my God, blah, blah. And then if they're in some sort of controversy, boop, never hear about him again. Dave Hollis dying from cocaine overdose and fentanyl, boop, never hear about him again from anybody. He was like a wise man, and they were quoting him and putting him up. Then they found out the cause of death, nothing. Mel Robbins has nothing more to say. It's one of those things, it's like the industry you're in is all about who you know and who you can kiss ass to. It's like, there was I don't know if it was a quote or something that someone put together, but it was like, a circle jerk is just one stroke away from a backstab. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. The circle jerk that is the self-help world, you're jerking one day and then you're stabbing the next. And I feel like, hey man, what'd you expect? You think these people have respect? You think these people have dignity and integrity? Have you looked around for 2 seconds? It's easy to see they are after the almighty dollar as well as you. So there you go.
That really hurt. Now I've done a lot of forgiveness work and a lot of processing, and again, I was quite broken and disillusioned and just angry when I got out of prison. And so it's been 11 years. Well, 2013 has been.
It'll be 11 at some point this year.
11 sometime this year. Yeah, in July. But it's taken. I've been on a long journey, and quite frankly, Bersaba has helped save my life. She really has.
Bersaba,
because she's been there for me, and she saw something in me, even when I had lost it and didn't see it in myself, and so I think that's invaluable. If you can find someone who will be there with you no matter what.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say that, but you really learn when you go through that tremendous fall. I went from Beverly Hills to literally to solitary confinement. I the first month I was in prison, I was in the hole right next to death row, because everyone thought I was so dangerous, I guess. I don't know, but they don't tell you. I guess they thought I was going to whip a sweat lodge out of my back pocket or something.
That would be an impressive feat.
Yeah, especially in prison. I'm being sarcastic. But it was sobering, and again, it brought me back to the heart to say, okay, look, I've lived my entire life, and I've acquired all these things.
Good point.
I've got 7 properties that went into foreclosure. Well, how the heck did I get 7 properties? It all made sense at the time. I had some rationalization for it.
Yeah.
I had.
Have you seen the second Wall Street? The newer one with Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
Shia LaBeouf.
Yes, we saw that, didn't we?
Yeah,
we don't watch
Hold
very
on.
many movies
Sorry.
anymore.
I don't either, and I've only seen it recently because my son, one of the walking Dunning-Kruger curve, thinks he's a day trader now.
For now.
Holy shit. You want to talk about a wild ride? I'm trying to go to
Where did
bed.
that go?
He's trying to explain to me about the resistance he found in a stock. I'm just like, get out of my room. So he was watching that movie recently, and Josh Brolin's character is like this billionaire hedge fund man.
Okay. That was one part I wanted you to see. And then 40, so he's like bragging, humble bragging, like, I've lost it all. And by all, I mean my house on Mulholland Drive in Beverly Hills, 90210. It cost $1 trillion and it was beautiful. And I had lots of artwork there. And then also I lost this. It's like just recounting the things that you used to own. This is an interesting way to deal with your supposed, regrets. I haven't heard remorse. I did not hear any genuine remorse at all from him at all. I think he thinks people who are followers are losers. I get that vibe because he's a very much a leader type person. I think he looks down upon followers because he looks at that person and goes, he couldn't even hold a job. He couldn't be in a workplace where he had a boss. He had to be the leader or he was going to be broke. Like he said that many times, like he was trying to run a business and like breaking even or losing money every year, but he still did it because he didn't want to, have to work in an environment under somebody. That to me means that they feel like people who are looking for advice and seeking that stuff out are lesser than. Okay, so this part, he's talking about the peak and then dropping from the peak of his career.
What caused it to go the other way? Because that can lead us into what happened in the trial and the prosecutorial misconduct. Wow.
It's hard work.
I got it out. I think.
It's a tough word. Well, in 2009, I was at the peak. Fortune magazine wrote a full feature article on me, and they called me the harbinger of leadership and performance and personal performance, and they said I was basically the next guy, and so
okay,
I was really at the peak, Beverly Hills and all those things that we talked about. And
take a shot every time he says Beverly Hills. Which again, not to make everything about Rachel Hollis, but she lives in Beverly Hills allegedly, or near Beverly Hills or somewhere in that vicinity, and used to live in that area too. What is it about Beverly Hills where people who are, I guess because that's like the quintessential rich person place. So if you're like a dreamer who dreams about being rich, you think Beverly Hills, so then you have to live there when you've hit the big time, I guess. I don't know. Anyways.
And in 2009, my team and I had a 5-day deep dive retreat in the deserts of Sedona, Arizona. And it was a deep dive into the drivers of all of your actions, your habits, and your ultimate results. Now, most of us think the drivers are things like our sales ability, our communication skills, our marketing skills, or any of those types of things we could fill in the blank. But those aren't the drivers. I'm not saying those aren't important. Of course they are. But the drivers are not outside of you. The drivers are inside of you. And psychology tells us that 95% of what we do every single day is driven by our unconscious mind. 95%. And so that means consciously we have 5% that we're operating on. 95% is what's driving us. And so what's there? Well, again, psychology tells us that there's the most important years of our life are from birth to 14. Those are the formative years. And there's a lot of things that happen from birth to 14. Sometimes trauma happens, and Bersaba can certainly talk to that from her experience. There's a lot of things that we don't have the resources to deal with. And so we do our best to get through. We sometimes power through. But then what we do is compartmentalize those things.
He's not wearing a wedding ring.
And that becomes part of the 95%. We call those unresolved emotional issues. And so all that to say, the most powerful thing, empowering thing that you and I can do, all of us can do, to really change our life is to make the unconscious conscious, because only when you make the unconscious conscious can you observe those things, block barriers, limitations, and heal them and integrate them and literally set yourself free. And so that's what we were doing in this 5-day retreat. It was an intimate event. There were 52 people. I was working one-on-one with everyone, up close and personal, and we cried a lot. We laughed a lot. We hugged a lot. And those individuals changed categories real quick. They went from client to friend. Mm-hmm. Because the reality is I knew more about some of their deepest, darkest secrets than their nearest and dearest friends and loved ones, just the nature of the program. Well,
again, because you're exploiting them. And did you give their money back? I don't think so. So I don't know how many friends that I charged $10,000 to hug. I guess if you're in Arizona, maybe it's different. It seems like hugs are $12,000 each in Arizona.
Long week, long hours. And at the end, and we'd done it for 5 years prior, at the end, we always had this kind of graduation exercise called, and it was experiential learning opportunity called a sweat lodge. And it was an opportunity to again practice psychologically what we call transference, to be able to take all this hard work psychologically, emotionally.
I don't think this is what transference means. He's saying take all the work and transfer it to your mind. My understanding of transference in a psychological meaning is if you have a therapist who is a 60-year-old man and your father is 60 years old and a man, then you would transfer sometimes your feelings of, inadequacy onto the therapist. That's transference. Or that, a person comes up to you and has a certain trait that you could be transferring or projecting your interaction with a person you knew in your childhood onto that new person. That's my understanding of transference psychologically. What he's talking about is like integration, I think.
That we've done spiritually and transfer it into an experiential learning opportunity that would bring up some of the same doubts, fears, insecurities, uncertainties. And if we could push through those, we'd come out and feel victorious. And that's every single year. That's what happened. And we told people it would be hot, it would be crowded, it would be difficult. And so they would go in uncertain and we'd go through the lodge and they'd come out and they'd feel like, wow, I really did something, with the hope that then they could say, hey, if I did that, I can go back to my daily life, relationships and business, and do the same things there. And that's the objective of an experiential learning opportunity. And it was always a highlight. But in 2009, no. In 2009, unfortunately, 3 people lost their lives that day in the lodge. And unfortunately, even more so, is that to this day, Andy, we still don't know for sure what caused it because, frankly, the DA and the detective, state of Arizona, didn't follow up on the forensics. And everything I'm going to share with you is public knowledge. And as I said, you have to dig deep, but it's all part of the court records. And yes, I did end up getting charged with a crime, not just any crime, manslaughter. And so something clicked for me there because
I guess he could have also been charged with robbery for this boring scam course explanation.
I was like, are you kidding me? Imagine for a moment that you've lost 3 people you love and care about. It feels like it's more than you can bear already. And yet now all of a sudden you're going to be charged with intentionally harming them. And your whole life has been spent doing your best to try and support and empower people. It was the antithesis of anything I'd ever lived my life for or given my life to. And so they charged me with manslaughter, and right there, everything started to fall apart. I mean, I instantly lost my reputation. The media, who once clamored to have me, literally crucified me. If anyone watched mainstream media,
they literally took you to the streets and strung you up and put nails in your hands. Because that's what literally crucified you means. I don't think they did that. And also, it's like, yeah, he's an angry, bitter person. He's gonna be getting angry, bitter things happening to him. According to The Secret, he has not let this go. And what he's talking about, just so everyone knows, I don't know what he's talking about. Evidence. His lawyer came up with a theory that instead of them dying from overheat and being in the sweat lodge and passing out and the hyperthermia that they had and the dehydration, it was actually somebody put poison or put pesticides on the rocks before they put them into the tent, and that the fumes were poisonous. And that comes from, there was some form of something found in the there was something found in the way the bodies were autopsied, but they never did a toxicology because I believe that they said, oh, they died from a sweat lodge, and they're like, oh, okay. And they just moved on. They didn't do the secondary testing. So that's what he's trying to say is the evidence that no one cares about, which is that there might have been pesticides on the rocks, therefore the fumes overtook people and they were actually poisoned, which was not his fault. But in my mind, it's still his fault because he was the one who, again, pushed them to stay, pushed them to go, set up the whole thing, made sure that like pesticides weren't on the rocks. So I don't know how he wasn't, found guilty of manslaughter. He was only found negligent homicide, which I think would have been the same thing, even if there was a chemical agent found on the rocks. But he's sort of inferring there that he's innocent and that it was someone else who did it, whether intentionally or accidentally.
During 2009-10, they saw it all over.
Hockey stick in the other direction.
Hockey stick, going down to hell. And so, it was the CNNs and the ABCs and the NBCs, and they just literally crucified me and called me every name in the book, from murderer to cult leader to all these things, which again, it was unfathomable to me, because I had doctors and lawyers and very successful business people in there, and they're not cultish following kind of people. They were very intelligent people, and it was a really
intelligent people join cults all the time. So I'm just saying, there's no discrimination against people with good careers joining cults. Never has been.
Not in their favor to be called those kind of things. But nonetheless, I went to trial. Before trial commenced, they came to my legal team with a plea bargain. And they said, okay, you sign that you're guilty, and we'll only give you 5 years. And I said to my lawyer, wait a minute, Luis, you're asking me to sign a document that says I intentionally harm people. That's not true. He goes, I know, James. I said, and he said, I'm not asking you to do that. That's what they're asking. I said, well, I can't do that. It's not true. It's a lie. And he said, well,
I cannot
I
tell
thought you
a lie.
might say that. He said, but here's the flip side, and I'm bound to tell you this. They told me that if you didn't take this, they're coming after you for 30 years. And they're going to come after you with every single thing they have. And I said, I swallowed hard. That's right.
Bring it.
I didn't say bring it. that's Beersheba.
I appreciate the headspace deeply.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I was kind of trying to break up the drama there.
Try to bring some humor to the situation.
How long was the legal process ongoing for them to get to that point with the offer?
So he doesn't take the offer. He goes to trial, and he's actually found 2 years because they did not find him guilty of the homicide, which, I think was the right court decision, honestly. As much as I disagree with, I don't think this guy is a good guy. I think he should have served more time. I think legally, they should have, did a different... I think it was a hard sell to sell intentional, manslaughter. It's a hard one. Okay, one more thing, and then we're going to wrap it up with some positive news, some positivity that actually did come out of this, not in the same way of we're so glad it happened because we all learned something. We had a fun night on a Thursday. But there has been, Kirby Brown's family, and she was, again, one of the victims that died. And her family created a nonprofit called Seek Safely. And I think it's a very good concept. I really do want to get involved in it. One of my OG from the beginning of this channel, Glennon Doyle, who used to, I don't know if he still does, but he used to be a member, one of the first members of this channel. So shout out if you're here. They have come together to make this nonprofit to basically fight back against this unregulated industry that puts people in harm's way. And one of the things on their website that they show is that, in a normal case, if James Arthur Ray was a psychologist or a therapist or had a title to lose, had a license to lose, he would have lost it after, going through this and being convicted. But because the industry is so unregulated, He's back to doing whatever. And he's saying like, oh yeah, these people tell me their deepest, darkest secrets. It's like, that's the problem. Like, you need a license to cut someone's hair. You need a license to put nail polish on someone's toes. Yet you don't need a license to get people to tell you their deepest, darkest secrets and put them into a sweat lodge to like inhale smoke because you're telling them that you can save their life with harmonic energies. Like, that to me, I don't even know if you should have a license for that, but there should be something that you have to lose to be a life coach. Like, to be a life coach, basically you're just parading as a therapist with no training. How is that allowed? How is that legal? And so they're sort of taking some steps, and I think very reasonable and well thought out steps to try to curb this industry from going even more out of control, which I really, really respect. They're working with legislators in New York. They're also asking, and this is a great thing, I think, too. They're asking, and I can show you the website real quick. We'll just jump back to this at the end. It's called seeksafely.org. This is their donations page. Hold on. Seek Safely. Stand by. We'll go to the regular page. They have what do they call it? Let's see. It's like a form, essentially, like to give to the gurus so that they can fill it out and agree. So they're basically signing almost like a contract that they promise to not lead people astray when they don't have qualifications. And they're promising to allow people to search and to seek out enlightenment and helping people who are interested in this type of work, which a lot of people are still, into new age, into self-help modalities and practices. But you're pledging, to not harm people along the way. And they've asked a lot of the big people to make the promise, which is to be truthful, accurate, respectful, protective, have integrity, and to be safe. And there's all different explanations as to what exactly that means. And you can sign it, and it has a list of, practitioners, quote unquote, modality, life coach people who have signed it. And then they have a list of who they've invited who have not gotten in touch with them or haven't signed it. Tony Robbins being number 1, Brendan Bouchard number 2, Jack Canfield, that's the Campbell soup can of soup man from Chicken Soup for the Soul, as we remember from earlier. Dr. Daniel Amen, the brain doctor I did a video about, and I don't know who this is, Darren Hardy, and there's a bunch more. So as far as I know, James Arthur Ray was also sent this document from the nonprofit to say, moving forward, as we know you're going to be doing self-help work, please agree to these terms. And he apparently never signed it, which is another sign of lack of integrity, lack of remorse, lack of respect, in my opinion. But this is here. Again, I would love to get involved somehow. I don't know exactly, but you can donate. You can reach out to your senator. They give you some information about it. And then there's book club, self-help lingo, which I love. Yeah, large group awareness trainings. That's any seminar essentially where people are gathering to learn how to up-level their lives. Law of attraction, NLP, that's what we talked about, where it's like, do you want to change your life? Yes or no? Yes. If you want to change your life, say I. That's the NLP. Self-help, sensory deprivation, when they're you can't hear, you can't see, now you're cold. It's different techniques to get you to be more primed and ready to buy stuff. Yeah, creative visualization, like getting you to think about this. So there's a bunch of stuff on here, gurus, lucid dreaming. If you want to spend some time, I feel like all this stuff is basically what shows up on my Instagram feed. You can have a grand old time. And again, this is made by Kirby Brown's family to keep her legacy going on. And they actually even made a statement about, James Arthur Ray passing. And they basically said, it sucks. We've gone through an unexpected death in our family. It was not a great experience. It was very difficult. We feel for their James's friends and family, but at least, he can't harm anyone else. And I think that's a perfect response. That's how I feel too. It's it sucks. I feel bad for him and his family. And I don't think anyone deserves to die ever. But, at the end of the day, it's no more harm can be done from him, because I don't think, again, that he was ready to give up the never-ending grift and the never-ending searching for seeking power. That seemed to be something he struggled with. And thank you so much to Glenn Doyle. No, am I wrong? Maybe I'm confusing myself because it's Glennon Doyle. I saw him on here. Hold on. Who are we? Who we are. See, I have dyslexia. Glenn Doyle. Sorry. What did I say? Glennon? My bad. Shout out Glenn Doyle. This is who I'm talking about, not the lesbian self-help author. And thank you to Crystal G. Thank you so much. Crystal G. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And for that I say...
I don't know anything more cultish than that.
True. And also?
It hurts. It stings.
And finally?
This spells cult. C-U-L-T.
All right. Final thoughts on James Arthur Ray. He's gonna lay it down for us. He's gonna talk about what is he gonna talk about now? What the future holds. Now we already have, spoiler alert, the future holds nothing. Okay, I don't mean to be insensitive. The future holds that he passed away. So again, this is from 9 months ago. He was gonna talk about his future plans in the space. And obviously we know that didn't come to fruition, but it's interesting to know that even at the end of his life, he was dedicated to the grift.
And it opened up my heart, and it started to allow me to see a broader band of things and to have a different come from.
Also, that's not my computer. That's this guy's podcast. Hopefully it's not too distracting. I know there's like a double audio, which is very annoying, but it's not me, I swear.
Because the last thing I wanted was someone to tell me to suck it up when my whole world was crumbling.
Yeah.
And I felt like the government was coming after me with both barrels loaded, and my own government and my own country and all those things. It's not what I needed.
Yeah. What are you guys trying to...
I thought you just needed what the universe needed you to do. I thought you didn't need anything.
What do you do now?
We really we're committed to creating independent thinkers. And we both believe, and obviously she can talk to for herself, but that is much needed in today's world. Most of us accept things at face value. And when I was growing up, if you saw it in mainstream media, it was true.
Yeah.
You know, if your school systems told you, it was true.
Or at least trustworthy.
That's right. That's right. And so what we're wanting to help people do is think for themselves, to be critical thinkers, to be independent thinkers.
Be an independent thinker by listening to what I have to say.
Apart from the controlling narrative, because let's face it, a lot of the controlling narrative is
good point. These signs are not very well thought out, especially behind his wife or his, I guess, girlfriend. He doesn't have a wedding ring on. I thought they were married, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, the visual imagery is a little bit stark given what happened.
It's just untrue. And the things we've been told and conditioned into are just untrue. And we're seeing evidence all around us. And it was much easier for Beersheba to accept 2020, for instance, and many of the things that happened than it was for me, because she grew up in a country where, okay, the government is trying to manipulate you and control you and screw you over. That's just what they do. And I didn't. But going through, I believe one of the gifts I was given, literally by life and by God, was to go through what I went through to help people in these times to say, not everything is as it appears. And so don't take my word for it, but do your own research. Dig deep.
So basically, my understanding of this sentence was that he went through what he went through by causing, at least in the courts, causing the death of 3 people negligently, allowing 3 people in his care to die. He had to go through that so that he could be a COVID truther. He could take a small dose of a red pill and talk about theories that he had on the internet. So that's what their plan was. And they had a live event again. I think I have the screenshot. Again, it's like so eerie knowing that he's passed, where it's like a countdown clock to this live event. And it's like, eek, that is not going to happen, obviously. Yeah, here it is. 80 days from now, and it's got live, which I don't know. I know I'm being like, I'm very insensitive, but it's just like very bizarre. Like, imagine you died and then you had like a thing on your website with a countdown clock that said live on it. It would just be odd. But this was for his creating harmonic wealth in all areas of your life, financial, relational, mental, physical, and spiritual in 80 days from the comfort of your home. So I guess they're going to cancel, or his wife's going to take over. I don't know. And so his wife, or again, why I'm saying wife, I don't know, some sort of partner, at least in business partner. She was born in Iran and came to the U.S. at some point and moved to Arizona and met him after he got out of prison. I don't know much after that. And it seems like they paired up real fast and then became business partners and hosted a podcast together. But it got literally zero to low level attention, whatever. Because I'll show you their YouTube channel. Oh, oops. Sorry, hold on. There you go. James Arthur Ray. They only had 5,000 subscribers, which, thank the Lord, I have more than that, at least. Anytime a grifter has more subscribers than me, I get really upset. He had a kind of controversial video. I can't play it because in full, at least, because it's got so much gosh darn music in it that it's, gonna get me copyrighted immediately. But, he kind of tried to do this like, I'm edgy. I'm not PC. I'm not afraid of the media. He's got a video called I've Been Silent Long Enough, the most controversial man in personal development. It's weird for you to say that about yourself. And you're only controversial because you were convicted of a crime against the people in the, audience. So I don't really know exactly what their whole shtick was. It seemed like they were going a pseudo-religious route. Again, on their Instagram, they also had like a lot of Trump and what's his face? The guy who wrote, what's the guy? Let's just see what he said about Trump.
Just back and forth on Facebook that I'm not voting for Mr. Trump because he's Adolf Hitler. And I'm going, in what world? And his comment was, I do not want to live in another totalitarian dictatorship country. And I said, what do you think they're doing right now? And here's the reason why. Because those people only watch the mainstream media and they have a narrative. And the fact that they can't see this, it blows my mind. It's almost like I can say these very same people that escaped that country because of what happened to it are doing the same thing here, and it's repeating the same pattern. It's quite scary.
He looks sweaty in that.
Just had to.
So that's the type of stuff they started doing. Political stuff,
I really believe there's a concentrated effort to demasculinize men. Testosterone levels are dropping by 1% per year. But to get...
When you get to this point, we never talked to this guy. He's got a whole podcast episode with them where he's talking about, the Republic. I love this comment. God and TRT is all a man needs. Hell yeah. Forget women. We only need God and TRT. Yeah. Oh boy. So that's the path they seem to be going down. And again, with little to no success. Like, I don't know if people are going to they're using AI images and this and that. Like, I'm going to, put in Psalms quotes. Things were seemingly going downhill. And again, cause of death not released. I have my thoughts that it could be self-imposed by him. I don't know, I don't know. Who's to say? I have no idea. Who's to say? But yeah, it's just like a very dark path they were going down. And it seems like it ended in, a tragedy again for their family. But what they were doing in the interim between, when he got out of prison to now just seems like it was devolving quickly.
When I came out of prison, I was shattered, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I didn't know which way to turn. And that was 2013. I was $20 million in debt, Charlie. I was homeless and I was alone. I didn't know this wonderful woman at that time. So I had to get my head, I had to think, what is James 3.0 going to be? Which obviously implies there was a 1.0 and a 2.0, which is a whole nother story. What am I going to do? What am I going to be? And I had to think clearly, and I had to define that for myself, and then I had to get to work. Beersheba has been invaluable. She's my go-to. I still work on myself, and I will to the end of my days. When I came out of prison...
Well, I guess that's true. Yeah, so that's that. They're anti-porn.
Pornography is a $14 billion a year industry in the U.S. alone. $14 billion.
That's nuts.
It is. Approximately 35% of all internet downloads are related to pornography.
People are downloading porn still?
25% of all search engines requests are pornography related. An estimated 40 million Americans.
I don't know. They're just reading statistics about pornography. So... that's it. That's the story of James Arthur Ray. Again, cause of death unknown. He was doing this type of stuff. He was still hawking the programs and the courses and whatever, and till the very bitter end. Till now, he's still doing it from the grave. Or I don't know if he's had the funeral yet, but his stuff has been posted post-death of him doing, shorts on YouTube, I guess, because of the, I'm assuming the pre-scheduled content. So my 2 cents on the matter, I feel badly that he died. He had a family, had a real life. But I feel equally more so bad, actually, for the 3 victims and their families, because he did not take responsibility, I thought, for me enough. He did not repent in any way other than going to prison that was forced upon him, which he felt like he was the victim of. And then he went right back to the grift. And I don't think he learned anything, to be honest. And it just makes all the lessons that he had, if you were to have taken something from that at one point, null and void to me. So the one thing that kind of surprised me is that, a lot of people who were at the retreat that survived the Sweat Lodge event, that a lot of them disown him, but still like the industry. They want to find a new guru, which to me is so crazy. It's so crazy. And I don't understand. I mean, I get it, but as soon as I kind of woke up to like, hey, this industry is really corrupt, there was never like, well, I just need to find the right one. Same like a cult. It's like, or an MLM. It's like, you leave one, you leave them all. Like, you don't just go from Monate to Arbonne and think, well, it won't be the same over here. Yes, it will. Get a clue. Come on. Same thing. If you go to Tony Robbins, you're going to have an experience probably very similar to James Arthur Ray. They're all basically the same. You're all going to get the upsell, the bullshit, the rah music, the cold room, the long hours. It's all the same. So the fact that people are still wanting to pursue this type of money grabbing stuff, it just shocks me to no end. But here we are. We'll have lots of content to talk about from now until the end of time. So, I guess there's a positive. There's a positive for people suffering, and it's my channel to be able to discuss it. Anyways, thank you for joining me. I went a little over today. Not that much, though. Pretty much on schedule. I'm happy. 2 hours, 20 minutes. I'll take it. Next week, I'll be back. Thursday. I don't know the topics. One of the thoughts was... to talk about the sales bros, like the Andy, what's his face? Andy Elliott and his whole clan. I would love to talk about him and his people because it's hilarious. Or maybe we do like a larger, just, alpha bro influencers for a couple hours and just look at some of the funny stuff. We'll see. So I didn't put a poll up this time because when I thought of this idea, I was like, we talked about it last week. It'll be a nice segue. So I'll put a poll up this week to ask for feedback. But thank you for joining. I appreciate it as always. And I'm going to sing a song. And also, I'm really, really sorry if you signed up for the gold members. If if you signed up for the Austin Powers movie from 2005, if you signed up to be in the gold straight up membership, I did not update the title card. So if you're looking for your name, I apologize, but I will have it updated next week. So if you left the group between last week and this week, you get a bonus. Okay, so that's good. And if you joined, well, I'm sorry, you're getting one less sing song of the day. Anyways, okay, thank you. Good night. See you next time. Bye. Okay, we have to do the song again because I haven't preloaded any songs. So we're getting generic song again. Generic song, generic song, generic song. My favorite song is the generic one. Starry nights in the sky. Where else could it be? My guy, Nicole Campbell, like the soup. Jack Canfield, dupe, that's you. Write a book with 50 different titles. A console, that could be your job. A console for teens, a console for tweens. Kara Soto, I always think a photo every time. Take a pic, then give it a lick. Tastes like salt. Because you're gonna shake it like a soul shaker, shake it like a soul shaker. That was an intermittent remix. Lisa B. Thank you for following me. Lillian Massey. Girl, you so classy. You probably drink your tea with your pinky out. Ain't that true? Shout out to Rob Sheehan. Wouldn't wanna be anyone. Wait, that didn't make sense. Wouldn't wanna be in anyone else's shoes but you, Rob. Or is it Bob? Or Robert? Or Bobbert? We will never know. Alaska Blood Tundra. Does the trees grow in this time of year in Alaska? I'm assuming not. But who really knows? Life always has a way of happening. Maybe there's trees that can grow in the Arctic breeze. Chris Johnson, where are you? Glossin', those lips of yours, Chris Johnson. That's a little bit of a stretch, but I bet you put smackers, 'cause you're the best. Dr. Pepper flavor, hopefully. Chelsea Marie says, yeah, I agree. 32 flavors, that's the sody pop for me. Especially Dr. Pepper with cream soda. That doesn't get any better, 'cause it's the best soda, but it has so many grams of sugar, so beware if you drink one. Good night, everybody. See you next week. Bye.